Year 901, March, planet Zeppelin. 19 years ago, we humans destroyed our home planet for the 17th time. In our pursuit of creating a space dimension device, the remaining humans finally finished creating this technology. Just before our planet was destroyed, the last Earth-like planet in the known universe, upon activating the device, we found a suitable planet, now named Zeppelin. Only the richest people were supposed to use the space dimension device, but they did not anticipate John Doe, the hacker. John was able to reprogram the device in such a way that it worked not only the 653 VIPs who were supposed to use it, but also the 1.3 million survivors, teleporting them all into the new planet. I was one of those survivors. Upon arrival, nobody could imagine this new world. It was totally different from anything in the known universe. This universe was ruled by gods. Humans were no longer able to reproduce by themselves. They had to ask a god to help them create a child. Even the very laws of physics were different. Planets didn't rotate on a fixed axis or pull one another with gravitational forces like they did in our home universe. Instead, God blew the planets around at a whim. It was simply another way to demonstrate their might, like some kind of competition. The further and faster they blew the planets away, the stronger they were. Not long after we arrived on Zeppelin, a god named Hyperion came to visit us. He wondered how it was even possible for so many humans to come to his planet without his involvement. Hyperion was curious about the humans before him, so we decided to play with them. Suddenly he created a light so bright that it blinded hundreds of humans. Then he threw a mountain into masses. Thousands died in an instant. And so began the 19-year war against Hyperion. I alone survived the war. Through the conflict, I could feel myself changing, losing my humanity, and becoming something else, something godlike. I couldn't create light like Hyperion, but in those years I was able to develop my own special skill to create clones of myself out of shadows. Even Hyperion wasn't to be able to do that. So in a way, I was already above him. Sadly, my shadow clones couldn't scratch Hyperion. They couldn't even approach him. When they tried, he created a blinding light which dissipated my clones in under a second. He simply laughed and said they were useless and that I couldn't call myself a god. He had underestimated me and my clones. Even though there were no use fighting him, they helped me progress much faster than Hyperion could have imagined. I was reminded of the slime I had seen years ago upon arriving onto Zeppelin. At that time, I still wasn't able to create shadow clones and I tried to find one myself. It didn't go as I expected. The slimes looked weak, but just one almost killed me before I would manage to escape. With my shadow clones, however, it was a different story. I could just send clones to fight the slimes. There was no risk involved. Even when they died, I didn't take any damage. In fact, I became stronger. I received the experience they gained if I was fighting them myself, which means that with every clone defeated, I only became stronger. Thus, I felt a surge of hope. It wouldn't be long until I was strong enough. Soon, I would beat Hyperion. Chapter 1. Hyperion beaten. Year 1909. July. Planet Zeppelin. Today, it happened. Hyperion never expected it. I finally beat him in a fair fight. It took me 8 years to prepare, and the fight lasted for hours, but it was worth it. Now he has no choice but to accept me as the new god. Someone stronger than a god must be a god themselves. There's no other way around it. At least that's what I thought until one weak looking bunny easily wiped out all my shadow clones. Even though I'm a lot stronger than one of my shadow clones, I realized that I probably wouldn't be able to beat one of the stronger looking monsters by myself, and I didn't want to try it. Unlike clones, I was afraid to die, and unlike Hyperion, who never really tried to kill me, the monsters might just do it. Then this made me realize why they can't be compared to a god. The monsters in the universe are unbelievably strong, stronger than anything imaginable in my old universe. But they're stupid! They only think about eating, killing, and reproducing. I was left to wonder why they can't reproduce while humans can't. but that was a different matter. What's important is that I can create things and I have my own mind. Monsters can't. That's what makes me a god. The monsters. Thus, my existential crisis was resolved after I beat Hyperion. It was suddenly very nice. Maybe this universe had some kind of law where the weaker gods had to obey the stronger gods. It didn't take long until they showed me how to create light. Light, that is. It was actually a lot easier than I thought. It was like creating shadow clones, but in reverse. It took me only a few days to master the skills, and after that, Hyperion asked me, how do I create shadow clones? I'll teach you when you defeat me, is all that I answered. Only fair, I thought, because he had only told me how to create light after I defeated him. But it probably won't ever happen. My shadow clones were the only reason I was able to catch up to him in the first place. If he couldn't create them, he would never catch up to me again. Yes, I know that's unfair, but I also didn't want to tell him how to create my clones. That's what made me special. And I knew. I'm sorry for that barking. My cousin's a fucking retard. Until, until, and I knew I could become stronger than anyone with their help if I used them right, or so I assumed. So Hyperion told me that he was by far the weakest god of all, and they were gods who were a billion times stronger than him. He told me that it's still Timu Mizumi was the god with the next highest rank. So if I wanted to climb up the ladder of gods, I should defeat him next. But he warned me, even though Timu Mizumi was only one rank higher, the power gap between them was unbelievably huge. Once Hyperion challenged Timu Mizumi after years of training, when he felt like he had grown strong enough. The outcome was not even close as a fight as Hyperion expected. It was over less than a second after it began. Hyperion thought he could just blind Timu Mizumi before attacking him, and created his brightest light before charging in at full speed, but it was no use. His charging attack became slower and slower. The attack lasted less than 1 second, but for Hyperion, it felt like hours. Then, a few hundred meters before reaching Timu Mizumi, Hyperion was knocked unconscious by Timu Mizumi's gravitational force. Timu Mizumi was seemed to generate some sort of gravitational field, which drained the power from Hyperion. He wasn't able to land a single blow on Timu Mizumi, nor even come near him. Since then, he never challenged Timu Mizumi again. After hearing their stories, I realized that if I had won on like I had so far, I would never be able to beat all the gods. It would take millions of years. It had already taken some time to beat Hyperion. This also reminded me how old I became already. It had been 27 years since I arrived in this new dimension. Yet somehow, Hyperion looked younger than I. How is that possible? I was sure he was a lot older than I. Maybe it has something to do with my newly gained power, the light I can now create. Could I use it to make myself younger? I will do some testing with it. Chapter 2. My first rebirth. Year 9012. September. Planet Zeppelin. After several attempts, I finally came up with a solution for my age problem. When I combined my power to create light with my power to make shadow clones, I found I could create an almost perfect copy of myself, one that looked like I did when I was 30 years younger, just the way I was when I arrived at this new dimension. The power to create light also let me transfer my soul to a new life form. Body? Now I could really call myself a god. With this, I was immortal. From then on, when I feel like I've become too old, I'll just create a copy of my younger self and transfer my soul to it. I call this power Rebirth. It has quite a few disadvantages though. My new body was not just as young as I had been 30 years before, but it was also as weak as I had been then. But with all knowledge I had gained in the last 30 years, I was sure I would become as strong as I had been before, and a lot less time it had originally taken me. That means in another 30 years, my new self will wipe the floor of my old self. And even though my soul was the same, somehow nobody recognized my new form. When I talked to Hyperion after I rebirthed, he didn't recognize me at all. What's worse, he couldn't even remember my old self anymore. It's like I never existed. This was kinda sad. all my previous achievements were gone, and everything I gained with my previous body was lost. But I still thought my Rebirth power was great. It was better than the alternative. If I died of old age, the other gods might remember me for a while, but I wouldn't be here anymore, so I saw this new start. It was a lot better than I had been 30 years before. After all, I kept all my memories. As long as I didn't lose them, I would always win out. I could just start anew and do everything faster and better than I had before. Skipping the mistakes I'd made with this, I would have as much time as I needed to prepare to face Team New Zealand. Just a low budget. Just a low budget. Just a low budget channel. Now the ending cards are showing. Hopefully my channel keeps growing. But if not, then please subscribe.